Hi, and welcome to the April 2nd edition of Priesty Buffs, now with 90% more looking directly at or near the camera. I see you. It's been kind of a slow news week in WoW. BlizzCon 2010 was announced for October 22nd and 23rd in, surprise, Anaheim, California. I have to admit, I was kind of tempted by the swank factor of the potential for BlizzCon Vegas, which was the original rumored location. But the truth is, I'm really more of an attention deficit geek, so Dragon Con in Atlanta is much more my speed. In other news, the ICC raid buff went up from 5 to 10%, and my guild was able to clear up their Saurfang on 25-man in just about 2 hours. And considering the fact that we haven't been in 25-man for a couple of weeks, that felt like really good progress. But to me, the biggest stories were yesterday's WoW-related April Fool's jokes. They were all really cute. Blizzard announced the Battle.net matchmaking website, which was just hilarious. WoW.com spent the day switching formats from Twilight Insider to Mass Effects Insider to Lady Gaga Insider. This gem from the Around Forks section of Twilight Insider made me storm my coffee. Though it would have been better if the werewolf had been shirtless. Say what you want about Twilight, but that boy looks disturbingly good with his shirt off. But the joke that made me laugh the hardest was definitely the WorldofWarcraft.com announcement of the new Equipment Potency Equivalence Number, or ePEEN. Here's a quote from the website. With this new system, you'll no longer have to wonder about your perceived or actual worth as a player. Your Equipment Potency Equivalence Number, automatically derived from the quality of gear you currently possess, will be placed on your character sheet and in the armory, and will also be displayed above your character's head in-game as an easy-to-read bar-like object that steadily grows as you acquire loot. Thanks to this new system, no one will be able to ignore the fruits of your long, hard journey towards gear perfection. Like most good humor, this piece lies uncomfortably close to reality, as I discovered when I got roped into a VOA pug the other day on my druid with a few guildies. Now, full disclosure before I rail on the ePEEN and gear score stuff. I can usually tell you off the top of my head what my priest gear score is, both using the add-on and from wowheroes.com. I don't use it to measure myself against others. Instead, it just feeds into my obsession with knowing everything about my toon. Even if I don't approve of using gear score to determine the value of another player, it sure is fun to watch those numbers go up. But back to my druid's VOA story. Having been 80 for all of about 2.5 weeks, she is certainly not ICC ready. In terms of pure survivability, one bone storm and she'd be worm food. But she's a pretty solid little healer, since basic druid healing is not exactly rocket science. She can heal Forge of Souls and Pit of Sauron with little trouble, and I certainly wasn't embarrassed to bring her into VOA. My druid wasn't going to top the healing meter, another measure of ePEEN I particularly hate, but that might just be because paladins and chamois always kick my ass on it. But my druid was certainly capable of throwing around a few hots. However, the second I zoned in, another resto druid immediately inspected me and deemed me unworthy! He started demanding to know what my gear score was in raid chat, and I promptly received 5 additional tells from others in the raid saying, "What's your gear score? Can you actually handle this?" All the while this resto douche, druid, was yelling about how some noob in greens was going to steal his gear. By the way, I do not have any greens on that character, as Cher Horowitz would say, as if. So I told the raid that if they were concerned about my ability to properly heal VOA, I would gracefully decline the raid. Okay, so what I actually said ended with, "So you all can bite me." But, same difference. Oddly enough, that never happens on my priest. I guess people just love priest healers or something. And while I'm not proud of it, I did log into my priest and wave my ePEEN around in their faces a little bit. I do have some experience healing, and as I said before, basic druid healing is not rocket science. Most healing isn't. I would never use my gear score to belittle someone else, but it's amazing how those who do use it to judge people suddenly feel that gear score doesn't matter when yours is higher than theirs. And for the record, the only druid gear dropped off What's-His-Ass the Flame Watcher, and a different druid got it. So Mr. Generically Named Druid got himself worked up over some 232 PvP gear. All gear score tells you is what kind of gear a player has. It doesn't speak to skill or experience. As a player, I've been in VOA so many times I want to throw myself down that pit in the middle. And I know that's not readily apparent on my druid. However, just because someone has elite gear doesn't mean they didn't purchase the tune 2 days ago. And so, remember, it's not how big your ePEEN is, it's how you use it.